Hello, awesome people. I hope you're having a great day today. Today we're taking a look at another short story from the Dead collection by Edith Nesbit called The Violet Car. This is written more than 100 years ago for you folks. It has a lot of fun things that are happening in it. I'll try to find it for you online as well as this collection to link you to, so that way you can follow it along with me. And do a lot of things. Edith Nesbit was heavily published in the pulp era. She wrote dozens of novels, more than 60, and mostly for children and fantasy. We read one actually for you folks. She also self-published for adults a lot of horror stuff, and so in some collections. So we're taking a look at this, which is edited by S.T. Joshi, a major name in the horror field. This collection was published a few years ago from the Dead. I read a novel. I'm thinking that it might have been the beginning of like a new fascination for me to read a bunch of her novels. But in fact, and while I liked it and was glad that I did do it, it just wasn't like the launching point that I was hoping it would be. So instead, I picked up this collection, and now we're doing a deep dive into her horror stuff. Violet Car is definitely a horror short story. It actually feels like it's more of a Poe short story, where, like the Telltale Heart, where a bad thing happens by one of our main characters, and then bad things will result. And so it feels more like a Poe horror short story than it does other things. Her short stories tend not to be gothic, even though, or like, you know, Bram Stoker's Dracula, or werewolves and so forth, and ghosts. They also don't tend to be that plane of tropes. They also don't tend to be cosmic horror, even though they're being written at the same time as the H.P. Lovecraft and stuff like that. So in the Cthulhu mythos and stuff. So her horror stuff tends to be sort of lesser, lower stuff, and some of them aren't even supernatural horrors, or those sorts of things. So I liked Violet Car. Read it last night for the first time. It was about 16 minutes long. We had a power outage over the last couple of days, and so I'm going to be recording a few of these that I read. I continue to read some of these short stories since there wasn't a lot to do, and I spent some time in the office here locally where I live, so that way, because we have a generator on campus, and in our apartment community for the clubhouse, and for the office where I work, and I live in the same community, so that was convenient for the power outage. So we're going to have a few of these I'm going to record today for you folks, back to back. But the Violet Car I read yesterday during a power outage. It's about 16 minutes long. 16 pages long, rather. And it took me a little bit longer than a half an hour for me to read it in this oversized collection from the Dead. It's a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. I thought it was very well done, and I liked it a lot. Our point of view character is a young woman who is a nurse, and this nurse is traveling to a place called Charleston, where this is a small city, in a place where out in the middle of nowhere. She's taking a train there, and she has been called in by the father of a person to work with his wife. And these are both older people and so forth. And then when she gets there, some weird things will begin to happen, and she's not sure who she was actually called for. And so she'll be there for a while. We'll learn more about the couple and their relationship and their daughter, and so forth. And some strange things will begin to happen, and some weird things will happen, and ultimately we'll have answers to all the weird things that begin. And I think it's suited well. I like the ending. I thought it was a lot of fun. So that's The Violet Car by Edith Nesbit and From the Dead. So I'm going to be giving this. I liked it a lot, probably, and I thought it was well written, and it was engaging. And even when I was reading it at the office, so I'm going to be giving this a 7.5 out of 10. I thought it was fun. It's not perfect. It's not amazing, but it's also pretty good stuff. So I liked it too. It was definitely engaging. even with the distractions. I liked it a lot. So that's Violet Carr for you folks. Again, I'll try to find it for you online. We've been doing a deep dive into Edith Nesbit because she was somebody that I read when I was in junior high. I got a horror collection of some great classic works like Guy de Maupassant's The Horla, and Charles Dickens's The Signalman with 5 short stories in it, and I got that for Christmas as secondhand from one of my relatives, and I read it very quickly, and so we've gone back and reread that, and it has Edith Nesbit's Band Size and Marble, which I still is my favorite short story by her, and then recently I was reminded of how much I loved her after coming across her in a couple of horror short story collections I just recently reviewed for you folks. And I was like, oh, I like her stuff so much. I also did a short story from her a couple of years ago. The first one I reviewed for you, John Charrington's Wedding, which is also in this collection too. And it was from a 100 ghost stories collection for you folks there. Knocked out some stuff that by authors that I already read in order to follow this along. So I've reviewed a few short stories for you here and there, and I've enjoyed it for you folks. And so now we're doing my Edith Nesbit deep dive into From the Dead, because I like her stuff and it's pretty good. I still think Band Size and Marble is her best thing so far that I've read, but I'm open. But 7.5 out of 10 is pretty good. If I wrote a horror short story and more than 100 years later, after the copyright had been gone and everybody could read it for free, I had somebody going back and rereading it and saying, this is pretty good. I'd be happy that they were just rereading it. And then they said, it's a 7.5. I would be sold, right? Yep, so anyway. There you go. As a reminder, the name of this channel, The Worst Thing About New Books, is a quote by a French philosopher named Jacques Joubert, who said that the worst thing about new books was that they kept us from reading the old ones. And then in this case, a short story and a collection of works that are more than 100 years ago is definitely sort of key for this course. These are the things that we've forgotten in our pursuit of the new stuff. So there you go. Have you read Violet Carr by Edith Nesbit? If so, what did you think about it? Let's talk about the comments below. Did you talk about the spoilers? Did you agree or disagree with my rating? Let's talk about it. If you enjoyed this video, why not hit that subscribe button? There's going to be a lot more of these to follow. And then finally, I want to thank you so much for taking some time out of your day and investing it and watching my video. We all have so many things that are happening in our lives, and we're pulled in so many different directions. So the fact that you spent this time with me is incredibly humbling, and I appreciate it. So thanks again, and have an amazing day.